Now on this Wednesday. So I said a couple times in the hour that I'm going to get back to my mayor-to-mayor thing. So somebody says, why do you call it that? Well, I was a mayor at one point. I know it's a cliche now and people like to make fun of me. Matter of fact, at the WTMJ Christmas show, they like to mock me incessantly about it. Did you know this?
It's nice to take a sip of coffee when you mention it. But it's cred. I can stand behind it.
I would think so, yeah.
And it opened up a world for you to connect with other leaders. So why not maximize those relationships and learn from the people who are in leadership positions?
It's like you're my PR person.
Well, Lisa, so I'm picking up what you're laying down. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So he's been a guest before. So here's the format. I'm going to bring in leaders. This guy's been here before from Washington County Executive Josh Schoemann. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And, you shouldn't refer to yourself as a former mayor.
Yeah,
it's kind of like being a Marine.
Yeah.
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
They get ticked off if you say former.
That's right.
My neighbor's a Marine. He's proud of that. He's got the flag flying.
Once a mayor, always a mayor.
Front yard. All right, so we can talk about a lot of things. And this concept, this segment, this format is going to be kind of hashing out some of the things that local leaders at all levels, you can use that term however you want, are dealing with. And one of the things that's going on, challenging budgets. Now, we've seen let me ask you right out of the gate. So we've seen I think since last we talked, shared revenue. What does that mean for Washington County? How is this change, this little more money coming back to your county? How's that going to help you?
Yeah, it's great. It's a huge improvement, largest increase in local government revenue in 40 years. So it's fantastic. And costs are skyrocketing. The cost from one year to the next for Washington County to operate is about $1.4 million increase.
You think people understand that?
No, but
that's an honest answer.
Yeah, you got to stop and think. You stop using the back end of your brain and start using the front end.
Right.
And it takes a while to get to there. And I don't blame them. I don't want them to have to think about it. They need to do their daily lives, work their job and take care of their kids and do that stuff. So that's our job to worry about it, but it's a challenge. For us, we got about $1.1 million in new shared revenue. It's awesome, but it costs us about $1.4 million new money every year to operate.
So that challenge, you have to meet it in a number of ways. I mean, I always used to tell the story when I started in Oak Creek and when I ended, we had less people working for it, but I think we're a heck of a lot more efficient. And that was something that maybe Act 10, maybe some other things involved in local government. You had to kind of figure things out, maybe reduce some of the duplicity, some of the things that you didn't need to do, focus on the core things. One of the biggest elements for county executives, local leaders, is when you're talking about response, first responders, fire, EMS. How does that fit into the shared revenue picture? You mentioned that gap. How are you trying to figure that out?
Yeah, it's changing fast. I mean, as the demographics of the state change, we're getting older as a population. Yep. It's putting a lot more pressure on all of our public safety services, from law enforcement to fire, and EMS is probably the most critical. I think there was a report not too long ago, Wisconsin Office of Rural Health. More than 40% of state EMS agencies have staffing gaps, and those are getting worse. Just like every industry, you're seeing these massive staffing gaps. Well, that creates major problems across the state, especially in rural areas. Ambulances just aren't showing up.
Well, one of the challenges is volunteers.
That's right.
A lot of these departments are volunteer. Is that sustainable long term in the future? Are we going to be able to do this? Because just judging by the workforce that gets paid, that number is smaller. I would think volunteers are also suffering.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's the question everyone's struggling with. Wisconsin Policies Forum has studied a number of different counties and areas. Jefferson County, Ozaukee County, Waukesha County and Western Lakes. They consolidated and then went to referendum asking for more dollars, for more resources, and were pretty widely told no, thank you. So, I think everybody's looking for what's the next solution, and Washington County's next in line. I think we have to struggle with this and find a new and different way. What's ambulance? What's EMS 2.0?
The public's kind of knowledge about this is when they hear the term shared services. And it's scary for some people because I had these conversations 7 to 10 years ago. And those were some of the early conversations. They continue to this day. In some places, North Shore in Milwaukee, they seem to have been having some great success. Is the public and the professionals, are they on the same page when it comes to that?
No, they're not.
That's why I asked.
I try to be direct. Sometimes we worry too much about whose name's going to be on the side of the ambulance or the squad car, and less worried about when you call, someone shows up. In Richfield's a really good example. The Holy Hill area, like 10 years ago, 2012, they had 76 volunteers on their fire and EMS calls. Today they have 23. I mean, we're just in this time and era where the demands on people's time just don't allow for volunteering anymore. And we've done that as a society, and now we've got to struggle with the ramifications of that. And so, are we going to change? Something's got to change.
So if shared revenue sort of fix some of the gap issues, I'm not sure that I have an answer, and hopefully you have an answer on how we fix the volunteer workforce problem. I'm not sure anyone has a clear idea how that's going to happen.
Well, I think it has to start where so many of the Washington County solutions have, and that's you've got to bring people together to start talking, whether it's a task force or a work group, or elected leaders have to come together and start talking about what do solutions look like here locally. And it's going to look different in Washington County than it will in Racine, than it probably does on the North Shore. And I'm sure if you ask the North Shore Fire, there was nothing easy about that process.
Not at all. I know because I talked to many of those folks at the time. Yeah,
and that was a little before my time, but I'm sure it was probably very challenging to get
But it's been time tested, and it seems to have worked very well. And that's the example that a lot of people point to. We'll take a quick break. We're joined on Mayor to Mayor with County Executive from Washington County, Josh Schoemann. You guys are always thinking about innovation, and Sandy and I want to ask you about some of the things related to what the governor did on an idea that you had that I think you pitched last time you were here. Mm-hmm. On higher education and what we could actually do to fix some of these questions that we're talking about education, about workforce, all those important challenges that we all face. Mayor to Mayor, more of that after this. You're listening, of course, to WTMJ Now. As I'm hearing that music, I'm thinking we'd have to have a theme song or some sort of a walk-up from Mayor to Mayor. What would that be, Sandy Maxx? You have an idea? You're a music file. Audio file.
Let me put my mind on that.
Yes, Mayor to Mayor, like Annie has this. What's that? This Girl's on Fire. Whatever that song is.
Yes, Alicia Keys.
Yes,
music can set the tone.
And our guest today, and there'll be different guests, but Josh is going to be a regular because you're sitting here, but I'm going to tell you, I like the way you do your job.
Well, thank you. I like the way you do your job as well.
I appreciate that.
And I think we should play "We're Not Going to Take It." That
Twisted
We're not
Sister.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. He's got ideas. Now, one of the ideas you had was try to fix this problem with higher education. I'm going to let you set it up, and Sandy's got a bunch of questions. I got questions because this didn't kind of work out how you thought it might work out. Set it up.
Yeah, it's true. Washington County solution again. I mean, we just brought people together to try to look at what does higher education look like. For Washington County, it's a big deal. We have a 2-year campus of UWM in West Bend, and 3 miles up the road, a campus of Moraine Park Technical College. That's our only connection to higher education in Washington County. So it's important for us to have that conversation. We brought folks kind of from all stripes in to talk through what does the future look like. The demographics are bad. West Bend High School is graduating 500 students this year. They have 350 7th graders. And that trend is all across the state, all across Washington County. So what are we going to do? So they got together and after about 8 weeks, decided, you know what? We need to look at putting the resources of the UW 2-year campus together with the tech college and have them collaborate. And, we tried to create some solutions to do that. We went to the legislature, asked for some money to be a pilot to make it work. Legislature granted that, put it in the budget. And Governor Evers vetoed it. So we don't know what we're going to do next, but we know something's got to change because the demographics aren't good and the finances aren't good.
What are the fundamentals of this pilot program that you wanted to start?
I think the key is looking at a way to have fiscal sustainability and really bring back that thriving energy of higher education that used to be at our UW campus. It really just isn't anymore. And some of it's money. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The legislature cut the UW system again in this budget by $32 million. That's a big deal. But more of it is just we have 2 different higher education resources doing exactly the same thing 3 miles apart.
That's the duplicity I was talking about.
So frustrating.
Yeah, you just chew up cost, and you're not necessarily going to ever get that back.
Right.
Because you have the declining population that's actually going to use that.
That's right. I mean, even 10 years ago, we hit our high point in enrollments just after the Great Recession, and we're down 70% enrollment at our 2-year campus since then. 70%. It's unbelievable. To me, it's really about utilizing resources better and having something dynamic that really is not just a benefit to the students, which is obviously important, but also to the community. All the benefits of the Wisconsin idea, at least as it used to be, we're missing out on that right now in many ways.
Did it come as a surprise, or especially considering Governor Evers comes from an education background, had there been some communication on the optimism of this getting included?
Yeah, it was definitely a surprise that the education governor vetoed an education idea that I think would have been a pilot. His reasoning, at least in the message, we never heard directly back, but his reasoning in the message was he didn't want to isolate one institution and not try it for all 13 campuses. There's 13 two-year campuses. My argument is, well, are there any other ideas out there? I haven't seen any. So let's try one somewhere, and if it works, replicate it and take what doesn't work and discard it. But now we're not doing anything.
That was my question, like what comes next? You know, if the governor's not receptive, what's the next step to try to move this along?
Yes, that silence that you heard was crickets. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hopeful.
Come on, you're the innovation guy. You got to figure this out.
Yes, we made it all the way to the budget being approved by the legislature, and a veto stopped us for now. But we won't stop. I mean, the idea is you got to, in my opinion, you got to keep bringing people together. And you know, the UW has shown some willingness to talk and collaborate, and hopefully the tech college system will as well. And I think that's the path forward.
One of the texters on the Old National Bank Talk and Text on 855-616-1620. Over 100 volunteers in Salem Lakes District. Today, less than 30. Yeah. People can't leave their jobs during the day. That's a reality. I mean, when you're talking about critical services, especially EMS and fire response, boy, you're going to have some nasty scenarios play out if you can't get people there to solve those immediate problems.
Yeah, you're not kidding. And my fear is that, you know, like most of the time in American society, we'll wait until it's a crisis and people are dying, and then we'll react instead of being proactive. And once again, our hope is Washington County solution. You bring a team of people together, you come up with a solution, you fund it, and you execute it. And so many times across government in general, the execution part is where we aren't great. We put documents together, plans together, and stick them on a shelf. That never happened in Oak Creek, right?
Yeah. We actually did a lot of innovation, and I had fun doing it. And actually, for a local leader, it makes the job a lot more interesting. Not that it's boring, but it makes it more fun if you're working on projects and things that are going to happen in the future. And I've said some of our lake projects, the parks and green space projects, are legacy projects that will outlive all of us. And why wouldn't you be excited about that? A compliment from the Old National Bank Talk and Text. I've heard your guest many times, and I'll say then, and I'll say it again, you should run for governor. Any thoughts about running for governor, Mr. Josh Schoemann?
I've got to run for re-election. I'm up in April, man. So, yeah.
You're a young guy. Ambition is part of being an elected, for a lot of people, part of being an elected official. Ambition.
In American politics, yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Washington County is so much fun because we're able to create solutions and then get them done. And I'm really focused on ideas. I love the Wisconsin idea, and applying that locally is always where the rubber hits the road at the local level.
Yeah, I want to take a break here. You're listening to WTMJ now. Our guest from Washington County Executive Josh Schoemann. Some fun stuff that you may be working on, thinking about, whatever direction you want to take that. Mayor to mayor. Even though it's a county executive, I get it. Don't send texts. Sandy Maxx, Steve, on this Wednesday edition on WTMJ now. Oh, man, that was like instant feedback. Yeah, I guess the producer does listen to this show. I think that's a very appropriate mayor-to-mayor theme song.
Charlie's on top of it.
Yeah, so I think we're going to go with that. All right, so Josh Schoemann joining us from Washington County Executive. This part of Mayor to Mayor is always going to be about you featuring whoever I talk to, whether it's you or somebody else. Things about your community that you want to spotlight, highlights, something you're working on, thinking about your time. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mentioned many times that we're really about bringing people together, creating solutions, and executing on those. And one thing that we've been doing in the last several months is we're getting all the chief elected officials from the county together once a month. And we're just having discussions about what can we do together. Those efficiencies that you talked about, now with the innovation fund and the shared revenue thing, it's something that people aren't actually talking much about. But Robin Voss, the Speaker of the Assembly, really pushed hard to see more consolidations, mergers, shared services. And, so we're getting all of these chief elected officials together, and we just put out a letter last week saying, we're going to work together. We're going to find ways to use your dollars better. And under this new shared revenue innovation fund, we're going to get rewarded for doing that. And so we're excited about it. And I can't wait to see what comes out of it.
I like to hear working together and bringing people together. And I got to think one place that a lot of people are going to be together and having fun is not this weekend, but next weekend, the Washington County Fair. Do you plan to be there?
Oh, of course.
So what's your role there? Are you like the ambassador?
Yeah, I'm mostly flipping burgers behind the scenes.
Oh, really? You're actually working? Again, not surprising, real work.
Yeah, helping out the Farm Bureau and the American Legion and maybe a few other things that I won't tell people about. But looking forward to it. It's a great party in Washington County, and everybody should come up. There's some awesome concerts. The Brothers Osborne are going to be up there. Lots of fun activities. Just highlight the kids, what they're doing in 4-H and FFA and all that good stuff. But yeah, we're super excited. It's a great opportunity to just bring people together, and that's what's great about Washington County.
Who doesn't like fairs? Now I'm going to backtrack a little bit. You're talking about gathering all those elected officials together. Have you done that already, or you think you're going to do it?
We have. We've done it 3 different times. 2 in the last couple months. The third one will come up here at the end of the month. So we're super excited about it. And it's already led to cool discussions, like we're talking with City of Hartford, about consolidating dispatch at the county level. That's been 25 years of sacrosanct discussions. You can't talk about that.
Yeah.
We are talking about it as we speak. So we're looking forward to that. And shared IT services with the Village of Kewaskum just have come out of these couple of meetings with chief elected officials, like, oh yeah, we could do that together.
So I led the mayor's group in Milwaukee County for about 3 or 4 years, and this is how I assess those kinds of meetings. You can tell pretty quick who's serious and who's not serious. You can certainly pick out the egos in the room and who postures, and you're like me. You like to just focus on the work and get the work done. And so I love that idea, but you got to take that stuff seriously. And as much as we have fun with all this stuff, there's a lot of big things that have to happen. Shared service is just one piece. Shared revenues, of course, a little bit of a help there with those changes. That understanding that all of these elected officials in your community or wherever you're listening from, if they don't start working together on stuff, kind of set aside some of the political noise, you're not going to get real work done. And that's the bottom line for me.
Yeah, we start every meeting by talking about how we're in this together. We in that meeting, we all share the same constituents. So, it's their money. Doesn't matter what pocket it's coming out of, and we're trying to deliver service to them that makes a difference in their lives that they shouldn't have to think about. It should just happen. Garbage collection or ambulance service or anything in between. So it's important for us to work together and get the things done that people put us in office to do.
All right, real quick, I got a Old National Bank Talking Text Line question. Has there been any discussion of potentially combining the 2-year college services with the cooperative educational service agency across the state?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Like I said, I haven't heard any solutions other than the one that we put forward, and we're going to keep hammering away.
That's why he's the county executive. Yes, exactly. Where's that music when we want it? County Executive Josh Schoemann, mayor to mayor. I know he's not a mayor, but that's what we're going to do here.